We've all seen the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot video. Strange, hairy creatures striding through the woods, turning just enough to create an iconic image that will fit perfectly in just about all merch. Real or a hoax? Experts can't agree, and an upcoming documentary claims it's a fake. What about the footage itself? I've taken the original and an HD upscaled version, and I'm putting them into an AI to analyze just the video. No outside info, no outside opinions, hopefully no previous knowledge of what this is. Can an AI crack the mystery? Let's find out. I'm Ed. Welcome to That's Weird. After a rigorous expedition through the Andes, 4 days of silent meditation, and consulting ancient wisdom, the chosen AI voice for this video is Maple.
Hi there, nice to meet you. I'm excited to help you get things done.
Oh, this is going to be awful. That's going to be great. So what I've done is I've renamed the original and the HD files to remove any reference to the Patterson-Gimlin film, and I've asked it to analyze the footage, just the footage, and to not cross-reference it with anything else. I want it to look at this as if it's for the first time and not get anybody else's opinions. Let's see what it says.
The footage shows a wooded area with a fairly open forest floor, scattered with fallen logs, branches, and debris. In the distance, a dark, upright figure moves from left to right across the clearing. Its posture is consistently upright, with a slight forward lean at times, and it appears to walk on two legs rather than dropping to all fours. The movement is steady and deliberate rather than quick or erratic. Each step looks measured, with the legs separating clearly and the upper body remaining relatively stable, giving it a smooth, almost gliding progression across the uneven ground. In terms of proportions, the figure appears tall and somewhat bulky through the torso, with arms that hang low along the sides. The arms swing subtly in coordination with its steps, though not dramatically. The head sits forward on the shoulders without a clearly defined neck, and there are no obvious sharp angles or distinct clothing features visible at this distance. Just a uniformly dark silhouette. As it passes behind and between fallen logs and tree trunks, it maintains balance without noticeable stumbling, suggesting controlled footing over the rough terrain. The interaction with the environment is minimal but telling. The figure navigates around obstacles rather than overreacting to them, stepping over smaller debris and moving behind larger logs. It briefly aligns with vertical tree trunks in the background, which emphasizes its upright stance and height. The HD upscaled version makes edges slightly clearer, but the overall motion and form remain the same. What stands out most is the consistent bipedal gait and the calm, continuous movement through the forest setting.
Okay, so it was able to basically pick out exactly what's going on in the video. It doesn't seem to have reference to the Patterson-Gimlin film at all, which is good. So what I've got now is a series of questions, and I'm going to ask the AI to see what its analysis is. The first question is going to be basically to assume that this is a previously unknown creature and to describe what it could be based on what it sees in the image. So let's see what it says.
If the figure is treated as a real, unknown organism, its movement suggests a fully adapted biped rather than an animal temporarily standing upright. The gait appears balanced and energy efficient, with a steady stride and minimal upper body sway, which would imply a skeletal structure designed for long periods of walking on two legs. The slight forward lean and smooth weight transfer from step to step are consistent with the center of gravity positioned over the hips, similar to other habitual bipeds. Its ability to move across uneven ground without hesitation also suggests well-developed proprioception and flexible joints in the ankles and knees, allowing it to adjust to obstacles without breaking stride. The body structure points to a large terrestrial vertebrate with a strong weight-bearing lower body and a comparatively broad torso. The arms hang relatively low and move in a controlled swing, which could indicate they are still functionally important, possibly for balance, manipulation, or occasional climbing, rather than being reduced. The head appears set forward with little visible neck definition, which might suggest a muscular upper back and shoulder region supporting the skull. A uniformly dark exterior could indicate dense fur or hair, potentially serving as insulation and camouflage in a forested habitat. Behaviorally, the creature's calm, continuous movement through the environment suggests it is not in a state of alarm. It navigates around obstacles with apparent familiarity, implying it is well adapted to this terrain and likely part of its regular range. There's no obvious startle response or erratic change in direction, which could indicate either a lack of perceived threat or a naturally composed temperament. Taken together, these traits are consistent with a large omnivorous or herbivorous mammal occupying a forest niche, relying on steady locomotion, environmental awareness, and physical strength rather than speed or agility alone.
Good. I like this. This basically makes it sound like this animal, if it is in fact an animal, would be very well suited for where it's going, for where it is and everything in the area. To me, that comes across as that being a tick in the category for this being a possibly real creature. But let's see. The next question up asks a very similar style of question, this time assuming, it's a creature and not a human in a costume. What kind of known organism could this actually be? If, in fact, it is a known organism. Let's see what it says.
If the figure is a real, known animal, the movement most closely resembles a large ape, such as a gorilla or possibly an unusually upright moving chimpanzee. The gait appears bipedal for the duration of the clip, but the slight forward lean and the way the arms hang low suggest a body built primarily for quadrupedal movement, with the ability to walk upright when needed. The steps are measured and stable, indicating strong lower limbs and good balance. But the relatively subdued arm swing and overall posture hint that full-time bipedalism is not its primary mode of locomotion. This aligns with how great apes can move on two legs for short distances, especially when crossing open ground or carrying something. The body structure supports this interpretation. The torso appears broad and heavy, with long arms that extend well below the waist, proportions typical of great apes, which rely on powerful upper bodies for climbing and knuckle walking. The head seems set forward with little visible neck, a trait consistent with apes that have strong shoulder and back musculature. The uniform dark coloration could correspond to dense fur, which many large primates have, especially those adapted to forested environments. The overall silhouette lacks the clear limb separation and upright spinal alignment you'd expect from a human, reinforcing the idea of a non-human primate build. Behaviorally, the figure's calm, deliberate movement through the wooded area suggests an animal comfortable in its environment. It does not display urgency or erratic motion, instead navigating around logs and trees with familiarity and control. This is consistent with a large primate moving through part of its home range, possibly foraging or traveling between areas. While great apes are not native to such regions today, in purely biological terms, the observed movement, posture, and proportions fit best with a large, ground-capable primate that can alternate between quadrupedal and bipedal locomotion, depending on context.
Ooh, interesting. I kind of expected it to say that it was going to be a bear of some kind, because that's just what everybody says, Here's this thing that looks like a giant ape. Clearly it's a bear. Sure. But it seems to have gone to the great ape idea. I wonder what it would think about something like Australopithecus. This is not one of the questions I have planned, but I'm going to ask anyway because I'm curious. All right, I got that typed in there. I wasn't actually thinking Australopithecus, which is actually kind of small. I was thinking Gigantopithecus, which is kind of big, hence the name Giganto. So that's what I asked. Let's see what it says.
If you compare the figure to something like Gigantopithecus, the overall bulk and proportions do line up in a general way. The torso appears heavy and compact, and the arms hang long relative to the body, which fits what scientists infer about large apes of that type. However, Gigantopithecus is usually reconstructed as primarily quadrupedal, more similar in movement to a very large orangutan or gorilla. The consistently upright, steady bipedal walking seen in the footage would suggest either a different locomotion style than expected, or a species with more advanced adaptation to walking on two legs. A more grounded comparison might still be a large, known ape, like a gorilla, displaying extended bipedal movement. Gorillas can walk upright for short distances, especially when moving through open terrain, and their mass and proportions can create a similar silhouette at a distance. The smooth, balanced gait in the footage, though, looks more sustained than typical for them. If interpreted as an extinct-type animal, it would likely have to be a large primate with a mixed locomotion strategy, capable of both knuckle walking and efficient bipedal travel, rather than a strict reconstruction of Gigantopithecus as currently understood.
Okay, so it sounds like this wouldn't have been exactly gigantopithecus. Now I'm doing what it was saying. A gigantopithecus, but it could have been something that evolved from it. And I'm sure there's several others that I'm just not remembering off the top of my head. Let's move on to the third question. This question asks the AI to assume that this is a hoax, what the new documentary that's coming out in the near future, or may already be out depending on how long editing takes, is claiming that it is. Let's see what it sees in here to imply this might be a hoax.
If the footage is staged, several visible details could support that idea. The figure's movement, while steady, looks very controlled and consistent, more like a person maintaining balance than an animal shifting weight dynamically over uneven terrain. The upright posture remains almost unchanged throughout, with no clear moments of hesitation, stumbling, or adjustment that you might expect from a large animal moving through debris. The arms also swing in a restrained, somewhat symmetrical way, which can resemble a human gait rather than the more variable motion seen in animals. Additionally, the subject remains at a convenient distance, far enough to obscure fine detail, while still clearly visible, which is a common characteristic in staged or ambiguous footage. From a practical standpoint, the scene could have been created with a person wearing a simple costume designed to bulk up the torso and lengthen the arms. Padding, dark fabric, and possibly extensions on the hands or forearms could create the illusion of unusual proportions without requiring advanced materials. Filming in a wooded area with natural cover helps hide details and reduces the need for realism, since shadows and distance obscure edges and textures. Choosing uneven ground with fallen logs adds visual interest, while also giving the subject opportunities to demonstrate careful movement that can be interpreted as non-human. The camera work itself also contributes. Keeping the subject at mid to long range, with slight motion or shake, prevents viewers from focusing on fine details like seams, facial features, or footwear. Filming briefly and allowing the subject to pass behind obstacles, like trees or logs, adds to the illusion by breaking up continuous visibility. All of these are simple, practical methods that have been used in staged footage for decades, requiring no advanced technology beyond basic costuming and deliberate filming choices.
Ooh, so it doesn't think that there's anything here to really dissuade from the idea that this could have been a hoax, and it almost sounds like it thinks that this is the perfect setup for one. Interesting. The final question that I have is going to ask it exactly what it thinks the overall conclusion might be, being what's shown in the video. I'm hoping it gives me a straight answer, but this is an AI, so we may have to push it a few times.
Taking everything together, the most likely explanation is that the footage shows a human wearing a costume, filmed at a distance to obscure detail. The movement is consistently upright and controlled in a way that aligns more closely with a person maintaining a steady gait than with a large animal adapting dynamically to uneven terrain. The proportions, particularly the long arms and bulky torso, could be created with simple padding and extensions, and the lack of clear anatomical detail makes it difficult to confirm anything beyond a silhouette. The filming conditions also support this interpretation. The subject remains far enough away to hide fine features, and the environment provides natural cover to break up visibility. While it's possible to compare the figure loosely to large primates, the sustained bipedal motion and overall presentation fit more cleanly with a staged scenario. Confidence estimate.
Well, there you have it. It sounds to me like the AI thinks that this is a human in a suit. What do you think? Do you agree with that? Do you think this is an elaborate hoax that's just managed to persist for decades? Or do you think that this actually was a real creature? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if you have any questions you'd like me to ask the AI, please feel free to add them, and I will ask them and post a follow-up video. Thank you for watching. I'm Ed, and this is That's Weird. Please stay tuned for all of the technical glitches and outtakes that I managed to do while making a simple 10-minute video. Well, fuck. Nothing from the chosen AI for this video. Also, we have to wait until 8:30 tonight because I've run out of free things to use, which is annoying. One of these days I might have to actually, pay for ChatGPT.
But it is not this day.
75%. I think we can get the idea. Bye.